Hello students, today we will start our fourth chapter of history and the title of chapter is Tribals, Decus and the Vision of a Golden Age. This chapter is start with the story of a tribal person named Birsa. So let's start the chapter. In 1895 a man named Birsa was seen roaming the forest and villages of Chota Nagpur. This is a place in Bihar and the people said that he had miraculous power and he could cure all disease and multiply grains. Birsa himself declared that God had appointed him to save the people from the troubles and set to free them from the slavery of Decus. Decus means outsider. It means the person who came in our country from the outside. Soon thousand people begins to follow Birsa and believing that he was God and he had came to solve their all the problems. So Birsa was born in a family of Munda. Munda is a tribal group that lived in Chota Nagpur. But his followers included other tribals of the region, Santhals or Orons. All of them in different ways were unhappy with the changes they were experiencing and the problems they were facing under the British rule. Their familiar's way of life seemed to be disappearing. Their livelihood were under threat and their religions appeared to be in danger because the British government declared that the forests are their sources and they exiled these groups from the forest. What problems did Birsa set out to resolve? Who were the outsider being referred as Decus and how did they enslave the people of the region? What was happening to the tribal people under the British and how did their lives change? These are some of the questions about which we are going to read in this chapter. You have read about tribal societies last year. Most tribes had customs and rituals that were very different from those laid down by Brahmins. And these societies also did not have the sharp social divisions that were characteristic of caste societies. All those who belonged to same tribal thought of themselves as a sharing common ties of kinship. It means in the tribal groups people thought that they are brother and sister in the relations. However, this did not mean that there were no social and economic differences within tribes. How did the tribal groups live? What was their work? And by the 19th century, tribal people in different parts of India were involved in variety of activities. They have do different kind of activities. Now we are going to read about these activities of these tribal peoples. Some of them were Jhum cultivators. Now we will read that who were Jhum cultivators. Some tribal people practice Jhum cultivation. That is sifting, also called sifting cultivation. This was done on a small patch of land, mostly in forest, and the cultivators cut the tree tops to allow sunlight to reach the grounds and burnt the vegetation on the land to clear it for the cultivation. They spread the ash from the firing which contained potash to fertile the soil. They used two axes to cut trees and hoe to scratch the soil in order to prepare it for cultivation. They broadcast the seeds, that is scattered the seeds on the field instead of plowing the land and sowing the seeds. Once the crop was ready and harvested, they moved to another field. A field that had been cultivated once was left fallow for several years. It means उसकी fertility ख़त्म हो जाती है एक बार crop उसके ऊपर grow करने के बाद तो they move to another place for the cultivation. Shifting cultivators were found in the hilly and forested stretch of northeast and central India. The lives of their tribal people depended on free movement within the forest and on being able to use the land and forest for growing their crops. That is the only way they could practice shifting cultivation. Some were hunter-gatherers also. In many regions, tribal groups lived by hunting animals and gathering forest produce. and they show forest as the essential for survival, because our forest provide us many things. We can get many things from the forest. So these for tribal people know that forest is essential for the survival. The Khons were such a community living in the forest of Orissa, and they regularly went out on collective hunts, and they then divided the meat among themselves, and they ate fruits and roots collected from the forest and cooked food with the oil that of they extract from the seeds of sal and maua. These are trees. Sal and maua both are the variety of trees. They used many forest shrubs and herbs for medicinal purposes and sold forest produce in the local markets to gain money. The local weavers and leather workers turned to the Khons when they needed supplies of kusum and plas flowers to color their clothes and leather. These are the flowers which have color, and these colors is used to dye the clothes and leather. From now we will read about the some work of these tribal people. Some are jhum cultivators, some are hunters and gatherers, but some are herded animals too. Many tribal groups live by herding and rearing animals, and they were pastoralists who moved from their herds of cattle or sheep according to the seasons. When the grass in one place was exhausted, they moved to the another place. The one Gujars of Punjab Hills and the Labadis of Andhra Pradesh were cattle herders. It means these person, and the Gadis of Kullu were shepherds who herded sheep, and the Bakarwals of Kashmir reared goats. These are the tribal people who reared animals and moved with their cattle one place to another. You will read more about these tribal peoples in the next history, in the next book of history. Some took to schedule cultivations. It means some in 19th century, some of them tribal groups had begun settling towns and cultivating their fields in one place year after years. It means they stay on one place many years instead of moving from place to place. They began to use the plow and gradually got rights over the land they lived on. In many cases, like the Mundas of Chota Nagpur, the land belonged to the clan as a whole. All members of the clan were regarded as descendants of the original settlers who had first cleared the land. Therefore, all of them had right to the land, and very often some people within the clan acquired more power than others. Some became chief and other followers. Powerful men often rented out their land instead of cultivating it themselves. It means the head of the land, who is the owner of the land, gave this land to other person on rent to grow the crops. He did not cultivate themselves. British officials saw settled tribal groups like the Gonds and Santhals as more civilized than hunter-gatherers or shifting cultivators. It means in the comparison of shifting cultivators and hunter-gatherers, Gonds and Santhals were the tribal people who are more civilized. Those who lived in the forest were considered to be wild and savage. They needed to be settled and civilized. It means the shifting cultivators and hunter-gatherers were more wild and savage, and they needed to settled and civilized. Now we will read that what happened to the tribal chiefs. The lives of tribal groups changes during the British rule. So let's see about these changes. Before the arrival of British in India, in many areas of tribal chiefs were important people. They enjoyed a certain amount of economic power and had to right to administer and control their territories. It means they were the owner, they were the owner, they were the king of their territory. They enjoy with their economic power, but in some places they had their own police and decided on the local rules of land and forest management. Under British rule, the function and power of these tribal chiefs changed considerably. They were allowed to keep their land title over a cluster of villages and rent out hands. But they lost much of their administrative power and were forced to follow laws which was made by British officials in India. They also had to pay tribute to the British and discipline the tribal groups on the behalf of British. They lost the authority they had and they are enjoyed amongst their people and were unable to fulfill their traditional functions. They are living a simple life with their powers, with their economy, with they are enjoying with their peoples, but the British official changed their life. Now we will read about the tribals people, what happened to the shifting cultivators, how the Britishers changed their life. The British were uncomfortable with the groups who moved about and did not have a fixed home. They wanted tribal groups to settle down and became peasants and cultivators. It means the Britishers want that these tribal peoples became peasants and cultivators and grow crops for the Britishers and settle down one place. But settled peasants were easier to control and administer than people who were always on the move. The British also wanted a regular revenue source from these states, so they introduced land settlements. And that is, they measured the land, defined the rights of each individual to that land, and fixed the revenue demanded for the state. Some peasants were declared landowners and other tenants, जिनके बारे में हमने चैप्टर 2 में भी रीड किया. टेनेंट्स वर टू पे रेंट टू द लैंड ओनर एंड हु इज टर्न पेड रेवेन्यू टू द ब्रिटिश गवर्नमेंट. द ब्रिटिश एफर्ट्स टू सेटल झूम कल्टिवेटर्स वॉज नॉट वेरी सक्सेसफुल. Settled plough cultivation is not easy in areas where water is scarce. It means जहाँ पर पानी की कमी थी and soil was very dry, so in that areas it is not easy to plough cultivation. In fact, Jhum cultivators who took to plough cultivation often suffered since their field did not produce good yields and they are forced to pay the revenue to the Britishers. So the Jhum cultivators in northeast India, instead on continuing with their traditional practices, facing widespread protest, the British had to ultimately allow them the right to carry on shifting cultivation in some parts of the forest. There are many other points in this chapter. We will read these points in the other video of this chapter. Thank you.